And if you're working under a lot of pressure, they probably mistake that for a high-performing culture. The younger generation is looking at the psychological safety a lot.
Welcome back to another episode of the Limitless Podcast. Today I have with me a very special guest from Sri Lanka, Wasanthi Stephen. She is the Group Chief Human Resource Officer at JXG. Wasanthi, a warm welcome to you. How are you?
Thank you so much, Nick. I'm really doing good. And how are you?
Yes, very good also. It's nice to have you here in the beginning of the year as we kick-starting. So really looking forward to today to dig into the future of talent in Asia, Wasanthi.
Yeah, me too. Ready for the conversation, yes.
Yes, so would you like to just briefly introduce yourself to the listeners before we get started?
All right, so I think you said it. I'm the Group Chief Human Resources Officer for JXG, that is Janashakthi Group in Sri Lanka. So we call ourselves a financial conglomerate. So we have insurance, investment banking, and financial services. So we predominantly in the space in the country. I'm overseeing all the talent pillars, compensation and benefits, performance management, and all relevant to HR in the entire group.
Wow, that sounds like a very big role. I'm sure you're very busy, but what would you have said have changed about talent in Sri Lanka and Asia in recent years?
So I would think, Nick, in terms of talent, the change is the new generation that is coming in and the digitalization that is coming very rapidly, which we need to embrace. It's actually... Nevertheless, you're a junior person, new entrant, or a senior person, the digitalization is rapidly evolving on a daily basis, which I think we need to really embrace that. And the expectations are also increasing. So we need to cater to that demand, I think. And learning is like, it's everyday learning. You have to unlearn, relearn. There's so much coming in. So I think that's what is evolving at the moment.
And out of all the people you work with, who do you see thriving and what are they doing differently from the rest who perhaps might be staggered?
Yeah, so I spoke about learning. I would think, Nick, who will thrive would be the people who will adapt to the learning curves. And if you can take your ownership for your own career and continuously upskill yourself, I think those are the people who will really thrive. And I think the collaborated cross-functional teams, it's not like you work in silos. You need to collaborate a lot to get the best out of your performance and get the best out of what you're doing. If you do that, I think you can thrive. As I spoke about AI and all of that, digitalization, data is also something that is very key that we need to embrace. It's a lot of data-driven tools that are there. So we need to use those for decision-making is something that I think which is very vital for us to thrive. And I think with that, you can be more proactive. And I think the other thing is, without waiting for direction and titles, you need to embrace it and run with it. And you can thrive as an individual and it will help the organization eventually.
Yeah, and then if we're looking at the different skills that the emerging leaders need moving forward, there's so much out there. How can someone choose? And according to you, Wasanthi, what are perhaps the top 2 or 3 skills that emerging leaders really need?
Oh, that's a very tricky question. Because when I see what's happening out there, I'm also not very sure what skill you need to be ahead of the game because it's evolving so fast. Learning, top of the mind, I would think learning is something that is learning agility is something that a key skill that you need to acquire. I mentioned this earlier, unlearn, relearn, and adapt quickly. If you can do that, that will really help you. And people leadership, because we are having multi-generations that are coming into the workforce. Coaching is, it's not an option or a nice to have thing anymore. Coaching is essential for the success of the organization and to keep your people happy. So if you have these two with digitalization and business acumen that you acquire as a skill, understanding the technology and data, top of the mind, these are the three skills that I could think of. Learning agility, people, leadership, and digital and business acumen, I would say, yeah.
Fantastic. I love those skills. The combination there of the technology with the human skills. And of course, I'm happy as a coach that you mentioned coaching as well. And then what about if we look at the other side of the coin? What mindset perhaps might be holding leaders back at the most?
The traditional way of doing things, Nick. The control mindset and the hierarchical mindset that we had some time back. So if leaders, if they believe authority comes from probably position, but not by influencing, then they will, I'm sure, struggle to build trust and maybe empower their teams. And that will really affect the speed and the efficiency of the business. So building trust and empowering team is something that is very critical, is my view.
Yeah, and you talk about trust, and you talk about the younger generation, then empowering them and so on. But how can we adapt to that so that we empower the younger generation, but we still perhaps keep our performance standards quite high? What's the balance there, and how can we adapt?
Yeah, I think the buzzword is Gen Zs and the next generations to come in. There's a lot of literature about it, a lot of talk that goes in. There are a lot of discussion. To put it simply, Nick, I would think we need to change the how, make things to how from what is simply what the new generation would, I think, require. Yes, exceptional performance is, paramount. You need to keep it high. But at the same time, I think leaders should try to give more clarity, give continuous feedback. Usually we have these processes that we give feedback maybe annually or biannually. But the new generation looks at it on a daily basis. They need a lot of feedback. And there should be a purpose. Why am I doing this? What the difference that I would make by doing this is something that we need to clarify to them. And if we do that, I always say the younger generation will respond with their honesty, integrity, speed of work. And we need to be transparent with them also. So they are not, difficult to handle. If we know how to handle them, they will be accountable, and I'm sure they will deliver better and faster.
Yeah, that's what we're all striving for, right? We want that high performance delivery and embedded in the culture and so on. If you're looking at other organizations, what would be one mistake that companies are doing when they're trying to create this high performance culture?
Good question, Nick. I think the companies are mistakenly have this perception about long working hours. And if you're working under a lot of pressure, they probably mistake that for a high-performing culture. My view is it's beyond that now. Maybe it worked at some point many years back, but things have changed a lot now. True high performance comes from clear targets, clear goals, clear objectives. And the younger generation is looking at the psychological safety a lot. That means a lot to them. And the leadership, they always look up to the leadership. Now, those days, as you recall, if something is told to us, we go ahead and with lot of loyalty, go and do it. If that is what needs to be done for our job, in the frame of being ethical. But I think the new generation won't do that. They will ask a lot of questions. So the capable leader at the top is something that really will work. And recognition. They want recognition. It's not monetary terms all the time, but they need recognition for the work they have done. So it's not the working hours or the pressure, the ones that I mentioned. And it's certainly not about burning out. The high performance culture will be decided by all these other factors that I just mentioned.
Yeah, and I'm very happy that you mentioned also team psychological safety there, Vasanthi. It's something that I really believe is absolutely crucial, because I see the gap between the seniors and the the younger generation, and it's about for the younger ones to feel safe, to raise their ideas, and for us a senior to listen to them and make them feel heard, because they have so many new perspectives and ideas, and we need to integrate this into our workplaces for them to perform. That's my view. What do you think, Vasanthi?
Perfectly, yes. Because we have seen now those days the staff are scared to leave a job without a job in hand. And they are very afraid to see that gap in the CV. Because that's a very typical question any interviewer would ask. What were you doing during this period? If the psychological safety is not there, the young generation just quit. They don't wait for another job to come in. I think that they want to really safeguard themselves in terms of being in a very psychologically healthy work environment. So they leave. They will just quit. So that's why the employers needs to ensure that is provided.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we have some young leaders listening today, do you have some piece of advice for the future leaders of Asia?
Stay curious. And if you aspire to be, or if you are in leading positions, lead with humility and courage. Humility and courage is something that is really important these days. And invest in people. It's again not in monetary terms. Be with them, talk to them, let them share their emotions. Be open about it. Open a very safe space for them to open up. Talk to them often, have that conversation and dialogue going in. So that's what I'm saying, invest in people and training, learning, creating that culture. There is this legacy most of the companies are carrying forward. Don't be afraid to challenge that legacy within, very ethical boundaries. Whilst you respect the culture and the context, I think you need to be able to challenge the legacy. That's where you break boundaries and take the company to next levels.
Sounds wonderful.
Always, I would say, with the work that we do on a daily basis, it's like a race we are in. Have time to pause and reflect. Even if it is on a daily basis, that will add a lot of value. That's something that I could say. And the best leaders, I would say, grow the others whilst look within and letting themselves learn and grow as well. So it's both sides. Though these are the little tips that I could give to the younger generation and to the new leaders in Asia for us to keep up to the standards that are evolving.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Vasanthi, for coming on the Limitless Podcast to talk about the future of talent in Asia. Just finally, if any of the listeners want to contact you for any reason to continue this discussion, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
They can reach out to me by email or on WhatsApp.
Okay.
Would you want me to spell out my number and my email address? Or?
That's okay. We can include perhaps your email in the post or something. So thank you for that. And I have your LinkedIn here as well in front of me. Is it okay we share that?
Certainly. No problem.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you so much to the listeners.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.